Morning, folks. I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters and the Pathfinder School. What we're going to do is we're going to embark on a new series called Pathfinder Outdoor Cooking. We're going to cover lots and lots of different methods for cooking in the outdoors, from open fire cooking to stovetop cooking, like on a propane gas stove. We'll cover camp stoves, charcoal stoves, butane and isobutane gas stoves, and we'll cover everything from stainless steel to aluminum to cast iron. We're going to cook a lot of different recipes in this series. We're going to talk about a lot of different things in this series. And we're going to talk about backpacking foods as well as foods that we could use at a base camp or overlanding. And we'll talk about some overland camping as well and some of that equipment and things that I carry in my Jeep. So this will be a fairly long series, but we recently built this outdoor kitchen area at the Pathfinder School so that we could teach outdoor cooking here at the school, as well as having a convenient place for our camp master to cook the meals for the instructors on a daily basis and for the students during courses where we actually cook for the students or provide them food, which some courses are like that. You have to look at the description of the course on our website to understand which ones you get fed at and which ones you have to bring food to. And then of course there are some that there's very little food provided at all unless you get it off the landscape. So that brings me to a quick point to make real fast, in that there's a big misconception in the community, I think, that people shouldn't carry food into the woods for something like a few days of hiking with a backpack or going on a couple-day hunting trip or fishing trip, things like that. And remember that as far back as we know, people carried food with them into the woods. It was different than the food we carry nowadays, with much different technology, but dried foods, desiccated foods, canned foods, those type things were carried, salt cured foods. And even hunters like Horace Kephart and adventurers like Nesmith spoke in their books about carrying food with them into the woods. And even people back in, the late 1700s time period, Daniel Boone, the old long hunters, things like that, they carried food. Even indigenous peoples carried food with them, from jerked buffalo beef to pemmican to parched corn and other types of items that would sustain them if they could not sustain meat off the landscape or obtain meat off the landscape. So carrying food is nothing new. People have been doing it for hundreds of years. We're going to talk about that a little bit too in this series, what foods we can carry and pack easy, what foods we can carry into the woods non-refrigerated, and we're going to talk about food that we can cook if we're bringing a cooler, like in an overlanding or base camp scenario. So stay with me and we'll get started, guys. Okay, so what I thought we'd do today is we would cook a mountain man breakfast, and we're going to do it with things that we could actually carry into the woods that don't require refrigeration. And to do that, we're going to use the Woodsman's Pantry that we sell at Self-Reliance Outfitters. We're going to talk a little bit about how I came up with this idea of the Woodsman's Pantry, where it came from historically. And I'm going to post an illustration up here that I found of this system that we use as the Woodsman's Pantry and how it was put together in an old illustration from probably the 40s, 30s, 40s, somewhere in that neighborhood. We're going to talk about that, and then we're going to make ourselves a mountain man breakfast using those components. Let's get it done. Okay, so real quick, let's discuss the Woodsman's Pantry concept a little bit here. Like I said, I'll put a picture up here in the video of this illustration that I got this idea from. Basically, you have a canvas sleeve, and that canvas sleeve will fit several tins that are, 4.5 inches in diameter, something like that. And you can stack these tins inside that sleeve and put that on one side of your pack basket or your backpack. In the case of the illustration, it was a pack basket. Now, inside these tins is where you're going to put sundries that you're going to use daily that are very much the same as you would store in a normal kitchen. You're going to have salt. You're going to have flour. You're going to have some type of sugar. I've got cane sugar here. You're going to have some type of lard or grease. I've got lard. And then you've got a couple extra tins that you can put other things in. And you can stack more tins in this sleeve than what comes with the kit. I think it comes with 5 or 6, if I remember right, without looking it up on the website. You could probably put 10 of them in there if you wanted to. Or you can add other things like canned meats. I've got beef strips here that are seasoned with fajita sauce. I've got white and dark meat chicken mix. And I've got pulled pork. And these are canned meats, so they're going to be fine inside that sleeve with these other tins of food. And then you could add other things into tins like dehydrated hash browns, some type of yellow rice, dehydrated powdered cheese, whole dried eggs, things that you're going to use to cook with on a daily basis, with or without things off the landscape is what you're looking for. Now, as you can see, I've got all of that stacked into the sleeve, including those 3 tins of canned meat and 5 individual cans of sundries, and they all fit fine in that sleeve, and there's probably room for one more tin in there as well if I wanted to put it in there, and that would slide down inside your backpack. Other things that you might carry are like salt-cured bacon, parched corn, all that type of stuff that has longevity, pemmican, beef jerky. Those are the things you're going to carry to mix with these sundries that you're carrying to make food on a daily basis if you don't have the convenience of some type of large camp kitchen, refrigeration, ice, things like that. These things will do you. And this is what we're going to use today to make our Mountain Man breakfast. All right, first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get some grease built up in this pan real fast by cooking some salt-cured bacon in here. All right, we've got some off and on rain today, so we're gonna go ahead and start a fire in this fire pan here, up here on the deck at the Pathfinder School outdoor kitchen, and get some coals built up. Then we're gonna start cooking our Mountain Man breakfast. Same thing as an open fire, except it's a little bit elevated, but it's all charcoal, wood charcoal. So these chunks of oak, I buy those a lot. They work really, really well, split down to make long-lasting coals for cooking. We use them out here a lot at school. All right, so once we get a bed of coals built up here and spread things out a little bit, we don't need too much heat for what we're doing. We just need good cooking heat. Again, if we can hold our hand over that for 4 or 5 seconds, that's plenty hot enough. We don't want to hold it over there much longer than that if we're trying to get good cooking heat. And we're going to use this Pathfinder grill rack as kind of a trivet over a coal bed to cook on. And we can shovel a few more coals under there if things don't start cooking pretty quick, but I think they will. All right, now that we've got our bacon taken care of, we're going to mix up our dry ingredients. So I'm going to start with some dried egg here. 1 heaping tablespoon is 1 egg. It's going to take about 3 for that pan. So we'll get close with that. And then we want to add water to this dry mix to get the consistency that we're looking for. So we'll add a little water at a time. And we'll mix that up. We're going to add a little bit more dry mix to this, so if it's a little bit runny, don't have a heart attack, because you can always add more dry ingredients to get it where you need it. Okay, the next thing we're going to put in here, we're going to put in some powdered cheddar cheese. And this stuff's pretty powerful, so 1 teaspoon is going to be more, or 1 tablespoon there is going to be more than enough. And I'm calling this a tablespoon, but it's probably a little bigger than that. And then mix that up as well. Mix it up really good. Okay, once we've got that mixed up, we're going to put a few, probably about a handful of dried potatoes in here. Again, you can keep this stuff in your tins. All right, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to scrape this bacon We want to leave as much of the grease in that pan as we can. So we're just going to scrape this bacon into this mixture here. We get some grease in here, it's okay, but we don't want a ton. And we want to make sure that we leave some grease in the bottom of this pan. Just flush it around really good so we cover the whole bottom of the pan with that grease. And the sides. And you might want to wipe that a little bit. There's nothing wrong with wiping that down just a shade. Take some kind of a rag and just kind of wipe it down a little bit in there, just like that. Let's set it off to the side for a minute and get our fire under control. Controlling this fire is a big deal. We don't want that thing to be too hot. And right now, that's too hot. We're not really trying to cook over flames, we're trying to cook over coals. And I had to put a little bit more wood in there to build up my coal bed some. And we'll put those to the back there, kind of let them build up, and we'll cook over these hot coals right here. Okay. Now we're just going to pour this mixture in here, just like this. We're going to stir it around really good in the pan, just like this. And we're going to put a lid on it. And let that fire do its job. All right, let's have a look, see what we got here. Starting to get some bubbles on the top. That's what I was looking for. That means it's starting to cook through. Bubbles on the edge. Now, to finish this, we're going to cook it on the top as well. So we're going to leave it on here about 5 more minutes, and then we're going to put some coals on top of this to brown the top of this thing. I wanted to give you kind of an up-close shot of the coal bed that we're cooking with here. And again, it's just broken off end cuts of white oak. And this is where we're at for a coal pile. We've got probably 6 inches of standoff with that Pathfinder grilling rack, and I'm using it for a trivet right now, to the skillet. So we're almost using the skillet similar to a Dutch oven, because we are going to put coals on the top. That lip on that skillet allows that, and it's great for that. But we need to reduce the heat on the bottom for the end and put that heat to the top. So we'll use a bunch of these coals for the top, and then we'll let the bottom just cook with a few coals down here at the bottom. Then about 15 minutes, about a 25-minute process to make this right. Okay, when I get to the point where I've got lots and lots of bubbles on top, and the sides are starting to simmer in the grease but pull away from the edge of the pan a little bit, that's when I know I've got the bottom cooked. So now the process is to move this skillet off for a minute. We're going to take this and we're going to leave it here, but we're going to tip it up out of the way for a minute to get some of these coals to put on top of this pan. We're just going to evenly coat the top of this pan with some of these coals. Then, I'm going to move this guy out of the way for a second. Gather up what we got left over here to the bottom. Get it in a rectangle that we can place this grill rack over top of, just like that. Put that dude back on there for about 10 more minutes. All right, it's been about 25 minutes now. Get some of this off of here. I'm not accidentally spilling any of it in our stuff. See what we got for a tasty reveal here. Look at that. Boy, that thing looks perfect. Man, oh man. See how it's pulling away from the sides right there? That is just a money shot. Absolutely here, and scrape it up off the bottom, just like this. Chop him up. Got nothing but brown stuff down there. Nothing that's burnt. That bacon grease in the bottom of that helps that out a lot. Now, it's a little bit dry. I may have cooked it just a little bit too long, but it's pretty good. Dash of hot sauce on this dude. We're ready to eat. All right, time for the taste test. See what we got. Oh yeah, nothing wrong with that. Whew, man, son, real good, real good. The cheese, that cheddar cheese, has a lot of salt, so be cognizant of that stuff when you're making these recipes. If something that you're putting in as a dry ingredient has a lot of sodium in it, you may not need to add a lot of salt to the dish. We also use salt cured bacon to cook in this pan. So there's already a lot of salt just in the ingredients of this. I didn't add any salt to this at all. And of course, the only pepper we're putting in is hot sauce style pepper. Real good, real good. Man, man, oh man. Golly. But John's gonna want some of this. Whew. Come on, John. We're gonna get some. Dang, buddy. Now I'm gonna clean this pan up on a gas stove with a grill rack over top of it. But I would do nothing different if I were doing it over the fire. I just have a very small bed of coals left over from this cooking. So I'm just gonna let those die down and use this gas stove to clean this pan. But this is no different than cast iron. I'm just going to heat up some water in there until it's about boiling. Scrape anything out that's any excess in there. There's nothing burnt in the bottom of that. There's only brown in the bottom of it. That black in the bottom is seasoning from other cooking. So we're just going to scrape it out, rinse it out, dry it out, and we're gonna be good. All I'm doing is scraping the brown off the bottom. You can see that black's not coming up, that's seasoning. They say that you can't season stainless steel. I disagree with that. That black is seasoning. The brown is what's coming off the bottom, what we just cooked. Scrape everything off the sides. Roll it around in there and make sure we don't have anything left. Dump it out. If we got anything left that we didn't scrape off the bottom, there's a couple brown spots here. Let's get some more water in that real quick. Put it back over the fire. Scrape any of that off we need to scrape. Take a damp rag, dump it out, wipe it out really good. The good thing about this is you really don't need to put any lard or anything on here because it's not going to rust like you would cast iron. I just put it on there to dry once I get it cleaned out. And call it. Okay guys, well I appreciate you joining me today for this first episode in our series on Pathfinder Outdoor Cooking. I will try to put a recipe list in the description box of all the things I used in this recipe. I'll also try to put links to Amazon, for my Amazon store, to any dry ingredients that I've purchased and things like that, or I'll try to tell you where I purchased them at. And then the things that I used to cook with, most of them are gonna come from either Self-Reliance Outfitters or Amazon as well. So I'll try to leave you links to that stuff as well so you can find it if you need it. I appreciate you joining me for this video. I thank you for everything you do for our school, for our family, and for our business, for our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, and friends. And also be sure and check out Pathfinder Outdoor Kitchen at our Self-Reliance Outfitters YouTube channel. My buddy Matt Mercer from Black Hat Bushcraft is doing some fantastic stuff over there. We take recipes that people send in, he selects recipes to cook, and then we give away free gear to the person that we selected their recipe to cook. So it's a very enjoyable family watch for everybody. You're gonna learn a lot, and I hope you enjoyed this series and that one in conjunction. Again, thank you, and I'll be back on the next video.